I think cheese is kind of a like I don't particularly like the term because if there's something that works as a specific counter pick, sure you can call it cheese, but if it's going to work every time, I think it just becomes a straight up counter.
This is Zento from Esports Heaven, and I have here with me JayJ from FlyQuest. Now, you guys just ended up toppling TSM in what many considered to be like you guys both around the same level, but maybe TSM a little bit more favored. Mm-hmm. But they ended up picking the Sona and Taric, and that was pretty shocking considering that you guys went Caitlyn and Lux to try and like combat it. Mm-hmm. So how do you feel like that lane phase went out? Did it actually go according to what you were thinking that it was going to be?
Yeah, I think for the most part, maybe the first like 10 minutes before I died to a gank that I knew was coming, but I died to anyways. Before then, everything was going great. We had full vision their bot side. We got like 4 turret plates, and we were keeping up the tempo. Things were going good. Yeah.
So you guys ended up getting a ton of plates in bot lane, and then you ended up rotating top, and they decided to counter that with basically a whole team fight gank.
Yeah.
So you guys were kind of set back, but without that happening, do you think you would have just steamrolled the game if that didn't happen?
Yeah, I think if we took a couple of like spontaneous, non-planned fights, and that's when TSM was able to kind of like pick a couple of us off. And so when we've practiced this, a lot of the time, what happens is kind of what happened this game is like we'll do really well, we'll misexecute something, or someone will get picked, and then all of a sudden we stop snowballing and Sona and Taric outscales us. But I think we did a really good job this game of still playing to our win condition and still just looking for fights before Sona and Taric scaled, and I think especially like Viper did a really good job on the Riven, mm-hmm. As always.
Yeah. So I noticed that Sona or Sven, he went Klepto and then Ancient Coin.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about that? Because I feel as though obviously it's not the traditional way because you're supposed to take the pick. So do you think this was a smart adaptation against a lane that's heavily poked with Lux and Caitlyn?
To be honest, I hadn't seen it, and I didn't even realize he had it until like maybe 3 or 4 minutes into the lane. I'm not sure how great it is because sometimes the creeps will die when you're far from them, and if you're playing against things like Caitlyn Lux, you're not going to be able to step up to pick it up.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. Maybe in their scrims he did it and it went well, but for this game, I don't know if that was the right decision.
So Sona and Taric has been a pretty big staple now, and I think we can safely say that it's not cheese. But do you think that combo of 2 supports being in one lane, do you think that's actually healthy for the meta and for the game?
Healthy might not be the right word. I think it's good to have diversity in the game. Like, for example, Perks from G2, he plays mage's bot like every once in a while, and I think that's healthy for the game. Maybe the combo of Taric Sona can be pretty obnoxious sometimes, but I think overall just diversity is good in general. But maybe this specific combo not so good.
Okay. So I know the Riot broadcast had been talking about the advantages and disadvantages to pocket picks or just very off-meta compositions or picks, but at the same time, you sacrifice time in order to study those and to perfect them instead of going with the meta. So what are your thoughts on practicing pocket picks or kind of cheese picks in order to get a leg up on the competition? Do you think it's actually a good strategy to focus on, or do you think it maybe is only particularly pertains to weaker teams of the table to maybe possibly get some upsets?
I think cheese is kind of a I don't particularly like the term because if there's something that works as a specific counter pick, sure you can call it cheese, but if it's going to work every time, I think it just becomes a straight up counter. And so it's always worth to look into. Like, for example, our counter to Sona and Taric today was Lux Caitlyn, and we put some time into practicing that into Sona and Taric because we believe that people will play that, and we want to have a counter to it ready, right? And so I think the concept of cheese is more like dying out, and it's more like everyone's just looking at very specific counter picks for every matchup possible.
I think that's a pretty good way to look at it, actually, that counter picks aren't necessarily cheese. They're just something that's solid against something that's meta. Very smart. So speaking of your bot lane picks, you picked Lux. How was it trying to master this champion? Did you find anything difficult about playing her?
Well, I used to main Lux in like season 3. Well, not main, but like I used to play only like Lee Sin and Lux pretty much.
Okay.
And so it felt pretty natural. The only thing is I play her still like I'm Nautilus or Braum sometimes, and that ends up getting me killed. Like I really was trying to lose us the game today, but Viper carried me. It's I think just that's the main thing is like if you're playing Lux and you don't get your aftershock proc, you're a Lux. You have like 1,000 HP at level 9, so you're just gonna get run over by that Hecarim or that Olaf or Rek'Sai, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, just positioning, being careful I'm still not great at. Got to keep working on that.
So you have a new kind of counterpart, I guess, with Wadid. You joined the team this season.
Yes.
So how's your relationship kind of developing with Wadid, and kind of bouncing ideas and thoughts off of him?
Yeah. So Wadid, before the season started, like 3 weeks before the first week of LCS, we started scrims, and we were actually splitting time. So he got to play with the main team, I got to play with the academy team, and I think that was actually really helpful. I don't know if it was helpful for him, but I felt like it was really helpful for me. Just because I got to listen to the way he communicated certain things that I wasn't necessarily doing or maybe was doing inconsistently. And so I think the way that he does things sometimes is very like step by step and reminding people like, okay, we're doing this now, so you have to do this. And like I wasn't necessarily trying to manage other people as much. I still don't as much, but I think I learned a lot from him in those few weeks.
So how is your mentality when it goes into having this kind of relationship with another person that plays the same role as you? Because obviously there's the potential of being replaced by that person. So just talk to me about kind of your mind state of, say, after this game, maybe where you didn't play the best that you could have or whatnot. Does that really get to you in terms of mentality after struggling in a game and thinking that, oh, maybe this guy might replace me next game and I might not get a whole lot of game time? What are your thoughts on this in general?
Well, I think generally our relationship has been pretty healthy. Like it's not like I look at him and I go, I'm hiding all my secrets. Like I don't want you to replace me. Like I think we both kind of tell each other like what we think is good and how we should play certain things, and so I think we have a pretty healthy relationship. And when it comes to like the potential of being replaced, I think that was kind of the point of getting Wadid, was to put a fire under my ass and make sure that I'm performing. And so if for whatever reason I end up not playing very well like today and he does end up replacing me, then so be it. I'll keep fighting for my spot if I have to, but I'm not like vengeful or anything towards him.
Yeah. So with someone else coming into the team and whatnot, and you having played a solid more split, one full split more than him, what kind of, I guess, importance do you put on synergy when it comes to synergy with an ADC and also with the jungler as well too? Do you think that is something that kind of trumps the idea that you can bring in new ideas as someone with Wadid coming into the team and being a fresh mind when it comes to approaching the game? Do you think that has more of an advantage, or do you view synergy as more important?
I think both are important, but I think for me at least, since I've already been playing with everyone for a split, a lot of the synergy. Honestly, it wasn't there as much last split as it is now. I feel like I'm much more on the same page with Turtle and Santorin now than I was back then. And so, splitting time doesn't take that away. Mm-hmm. And I think it's been pretty okay.
Okay. So finally, it feels as though the entire narrative of the LCS right now is who is fourth place, essentially. Yeah. And so everyone has on the docket FlyQuest or Golden Guardians. How do you view Golden Guardians as a team and kind of being a rival to break into the top ranks of the LCS?
They're honestly a pretty solid team for the most part. I know like sometimes their players slip up and have kind of like int games, but in general, I think they are actually like right there with us. Although I do think, I think generally we play the game, I don't want to say more like macro. Actually, let me rephrase. GGS is a really good team, but they are inconsistent sometimes. Mm-hmm. And we're also inconsistent sometimes. And so I think either of us can take on each other on any given day. Uh-huh. It just depends on who shows up on the day. Like last split, they beat us week 9, day 2. Then we had a tiebreaker against them. We won. Then we go into our best of 5. They win, we win. They win, we win. And then we won the last one. So I think we're still neck to neck with them.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the interview. This has been Azento from Esports Heaven and JayJ from FlyQuest. Thank you.
Thank you.
I assume if you made it this far, you probably enjoyed the content. So if you did, subscribe and also check out my other content that's more analytical and opinionated. But otherwise, keep it locked at esportsheaven.com and I'll see you next time. Peace.